Hello everyone, it's Edward from Ideal Direct Home Improvements Company, and in today's video we're going to show you how we install a subfloor over concrete in a basement. And today we're going to be using the Delta MS product as the underlayment. In this project, we're going to be using 4x8 sheets, OSB with the tongue and groove plywood. So let's get started. Once rolled out, we trim off the excess with our utility knife. We now lay down our first roll of plywood. This will help the Delta from not moving around as we put down and roll out the next section of the Delta MS and tape the seams. Let's start with our measurements and layout for our fasteners. Once our first roll of plywood is laid down on the concrete, we're going to start to mark the top side of the sheet at 19 1/4 inch centers. As you can see here on our measuring tape, there's a little diamond right at the 19 1/4, and we follow along on our tape and we'll look for the other 19 1/4 inch mark, and there's our little diamond again where our fasteners already fastened. In this part of the video, we already have the majority of the plywood laid and tacked, but we just want to show you how we lay out the top side of the first row. Using 16 inch centers or 12 inch centers are not necessary in this application. Using the 19 inch centers and 16 inches down, you'll be using approximately 20 screws to fasten the body of the sheet down. Once you have the first row from the top along the 8-foot side of the sheet, tack down at the 19 1/4 inch centers. You can now proceed to tack down the ends of the sheet along the 4-foot side. With the first screw installed, we measure down from there at 16 inch centers. 3 fasteners along the 4-foot end of the sheet are more than plenty because we have the tongue and groove connection. When we're drilling out for our fasteners in the concrete, what we want to make sure is that we stay away from any edge of the plywood at least 1 1/4 inch. This way we don't damage the tongue and groove connection or alter the end of the sheet. This makes it a lot easier for the next sheet to slide right in. Once our first row of plywood is installed and tacked down, we can start laying down our second roll of plywood. We want to make sure that our seams are offset at least about 16 inches for the tongue and groove connection to be solid. Let's start drilling our holes and tacking down the sheets. Here are the fasteners that we're using. They're concrete fasteners and they're 2 3/4 inches long. In this project we're using 2 3/4 inches long because our plywood is 5/8 and our underlayment is 1/2 inch. We wanted at least 1.5 inches grab into the concrete. They're number 2 Phillips head screw. Again, there we go, put a little bit of pressure, the drill basically does everything. You have to be careful so you don't put a little bit of pressure, you're going to strip the bit or the screw. When you start installing the next row of plywood, you can use a 2x4 and a hammer to tap in the top of the sheet to make a solid connection in the tongue and groove. Here's an overview of our progress. We have 4 rows of plywood already installed and tacked down. Don't forget to offset your seams so that you have a solid connection with the tongue and groove, as you can see here. Here's our delta mat with all our taped up seams, ready for our next sheets of plywood. And here we are, almost finished. Another section of delta MS, taped down the seams, and a row and a half of plywood, all done. Again, thanks for watching and stay tuned for more videos.